So are you curious to see how this Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation fares on oily skin? Well, so am I. Please stay tuned. Hey guys, this is Sneha here at Beauty Lashes 19, and today is another foundation review video for oily skin. So today I'm testing out the Luminous Silk Foundation by Giorgio Armani, and I picked up the shade 7.5 in case you're curious. It is described as a medium peach and caramel shade, and usually matte foundations I'm around NC 40, and then when I have a tan I'm around NC 42. So I've already gone ahead and moisturized my face with this Ombre Release Lait Cream Concentrate. And on my lips, I have this Kiko lipstick in the shade 610. Next, as always, with all my foundation reviews, I'm going to be using the Skindinavia Makeup Primer Spray, which is the oil control version, as a face primer. And as with all foundation reviews, I'm going to be doing one half of my face with the Sephora Pro Mini Flawless Airbrush brush, and the other half of my face with the damp Beauty Blender sponge. Now I'm in the shade number 7.5 in this foundation. I have tried getting a sample of the shade 8 and that was again too dark for me, so I just work with this. Usually I mix in some shade adjusters just so I can get my exact skin tone. But today, since it's just a foundation review, I don't want to mix any other additives that may change the review of the foundation. So as you can see, the foundation is quite runny. So I'm going to do my right side with the brush. This foundation doesn't dry up quickly, so I have time to work it into the skin. This is what one layer of this foundation looks like. It has that beautiful luminous glow to the skin. It doesn't look like foundation or, you know, that cake face that you get with typical full coverage foundations. So I'm just going to apply another layer and see if this foundation is buildable, because it claims to do so. This foundation is building up beautifully. As you can see, it gave me an additional layer of coverage wherever I applied it. And it's not clinging to any of my dry patches, which is excellent. And despite building up, it still looks very much like dewy, glowy skin, especially once I adjust the shade to match the rest of my body, but it is amazing. So I can see that it's definitely buildable. So here where I didn't need much coverage, I just applied one thin layer, whereas here where I do need coverage, you can see that it built up beautifully. So coming closer to the camera, hopefully you can see the luminosity in this foundation and how skin-like it looks. It's just beautiful. Now onto the other side with the Beauty Blender sponge. Then I'm going to take off all the excess water from the Beauty Blender sponge. I don't want to add any more moisture because this foundation is quite fluid and light. Now, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but I definitely see that, oops, this area where I went in with the Beauty Blender sponge has less coverage than this half of my forehead. But Again, just let's see if it's buildable with the beauty blender, especially on this area. Again, just dotting it on the problem areas. But this is what the second layer looks like, and even with the beauty blender sponge, going back in with the second layer just on this area did build up some coverage. I'm just going back in with my finger and just building up coverage here just like we did on this side. You can't tell that you've added a second or third layer to certain areas. This is one of the few foundations that just gives such a beautiful look to the skin. I absolutely love it, and I think I understand why the price is so steep. But if you find a good match in this foundation, I think it's totally worth it. Alright, so these spots are definitely way darker than what I had on this side, so that's probably also why these are still showing through. But this is what the face looks like, with a couple of layers on the cheeks and then one very thin layer on my forehead and nose. If I come in closer, that's the side we did with the brush, and this is the side we did with the beauty blender sponge. Both sides look great, but I do think you got more coverage with the brush side. So this is how the foundation looks once I have the rest of my makeup on. I have powdered my skin because I have oily skin, so that's why some of the glow from the foundation has disappeared. But if you have more combination or even normal skin, I think you would really enjoy the glow that the foundation gives naturally. So I would just powder the T-zone or any other oily areas that you have and keep the rest of the face just slightly powdered, so you can still enjoy the glow that the foundation gives. But my face will be glowing sometime. I'm just going to set my entire face with the Skindinavia makeup finishing spray. So this is how the foundation looks once I have set it with the setting spray. So I had powdered my skin quite a bit, but with the spray now, some of the glow from the foundation has come back, as you can see. So this foundation retails for £40 in the UK or 64 US dollars, which is extremely expensive. But as you saw in the application, the foundation is just beautiful. So I don't know, I personally feel that this foundation is worth the extra money. Now this particular foundation claims to be lightweight, that glides on weightlessly, and that is so true. I have like 2 or 3 thin layers of this foundation on my cheek area, which is my problematic area, and I can barely feel the foundation on my skin. I feel like I have absolutely nothing, probably a moisturizer or something. So I totally agree that it is super lightweight and you can barely feel it on your skin. So it's designed to correct and unify the complexion for instantly glowy skin. I completely agree with that. Yes, you have to build up if you have acne and acne scarring, but if you have relatively good skin and you just want to even out your skin tone, I think one thin layer should be beautiful on the skin. And from the application you can also see the beautiful glow that it imparts to your skin. They also call it flawless lit from within glow, which sounds like Charlotte Tilbury, but yeah, you can definitely see the glow during the application. This foundation is buildable, which is so true. It's supposed to improve texture and blur imperfections. I do think that's true to some extent because it is buildable, and as you'll see in the application again, it layered up beautifully, did not look cakey in the areas that I did layer up, and it did not cling to any of the dry patches. And finally, this foundation is available in 24 shades, which is amazing for all skin tones. And they also on their website describe each shade, so I think it's easy to kind of match your shade. Now, as far as temperature is concerned, today it's going up to 78 degrees Fahrenheit or 26 degrees Celsius. So it's relatively hot, and I am going to be in the kitchen for most of the day. I'm going to cook a few dishes. It's about 11 AM here, and it's been 1 hour since applying the foundation. So I'll check back in a few hours and let you know how the oils are holding up. Alright guys, so this is the first check-in. It's 3.5 hours since the initial application of the foundation, and I've been in the kitchen cooking the last few hours, and I can definitely see the oils coming through, especially in my T-zone. My cheeks are matte at this point, but I am definitely shiny in my T-zone. So I think I'm just going to let the oil be at this stage. It doesn't look too greasy or crazy. I would still be okay with this finish, but I am assuming as the hours go by it will get to a point where I definitely need to blot. I'll check back in a couple of hours. Also, another good thing I noticed about this foundation is it's not settling into my smile line, so that is a bonus. Alright guys, so this is almost the 6.5 hour mark, and as you can see I'm an oily mess. So coming closer, my T-zone is super oily, and now my cheeks are also getting to be slightly more oily. As I move my face, they are no longer matte. You see some sheen to the cheeks as well. So this foundation, you're not going to survive a full day's work without blotting. And let's see if the blotting actually works and keeps the foundation still on the skin. So again, I'm just going in with the mixed blotting sheet. Alright, let's start with our forehead. I have a feeling we need multiple blotting sheets for this particular foundation, because one sheet is pretty much used up quite quickly. I did take off some of the foundation as well. I'll show you in a minute. You can see that my cheeks are a little oily. The struggle is real, guys. People who don't have oily skin don't understand the struggle. So here I have used up 2 blotting sheets completely, and you can see that some of the foundation or the powder has definitely transferred onto this along with the oil. But the face doesn't look bad once I have blotted. The skin still looks good. The foundation hasn't become patchy or uneven anywhere, so that's good. And this foundation never claimed to be oil absorbing or mattifying, so I guess oil production on an oily skin is kind of expected. So I'm just going to add a light dusting of the RCMA No Color Powder and see how that fares with this foundation in case I have to go out in the evening. Alright, so I'll come back at the end of the day. Alright guys, so this is the last check-in. It's been a total of 9 hours since I first applied the foundation, and as you can see, since my last check-in and blotting and powdering, my skin is again oily. Not even going to bother to blot because it's pointless. So this particular foundation is a big fail for people with oily skin type. The pros of this foundation were that the foundation went on the skin beautifully. It gave that beautiful glow to the skin, it layered beautifully, so it was buildable coverage, and it blended seamlessly with the existing foundation on the face. So considering all those points, I would highly recommend this foundation if you're on the market for a high-end foundation. For those with dry, normal, and maybe combination skin types, as long as you're okay with powdering the T-zone and blotting throughout the day. But for people like me who have super oily skin, I can only wear this foundation if I know I'm going for a short period of time, say for like 2 or 3 hours to a movie or something like that, or in really dry winter months where my skin tends to produce less oil. As far as cons are concerned, the biggest con is that it just gets oily and dewy every few hours, so that's a big no-no for people with oily skin. So those are my final thoughts for this foundation, and I hope this review was useful to you guys, and if you found this helpful, please don't forget to hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button down there, it's free. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
Open eye, Feel the waves cut through me.